people coattail you pull, the more people abandon the fraud, because that's the only defense to a crime. That the abandonment defense of a crime of inclusion. I mean, it's a conspiracy, a group. When you discover the fraud, you're supposed to cease and desist all activities associated with the fraud, right? The only problem with the way that the system is set up through adhesion contracts, even when you think you're stepping away from the fraud, you stepping back into the fraud. So you still giving them jurisdiction, trying to assert that they don't have jurisdiction. Right? You gotta wait till they kidnap you first. Then you gotta be a master of the habeas corpus, the great writ. Right? The last person suspended it was George Bush, suspended the power of the writ. But the Constitution said that no act of government shall suspend the power of the great writ. So it was supposed to be null and void, but the courts stopped hearing habeas corpuses once you're done is done. They can only hear over it one time. And then they didn't have to accept the habeas corpus. Before they had to at least acknowledge the habeas corpus and tell you why they're not going to review the case. Right? So the suspension of the writ means that you trapped in the position of servitude. This is why, like, I'm not on no probation, parole, none of that. I did my time. I walked down my parole, right? So I'm no longer a bond servant. All of the ones that are still locked up is bond servants, knowingly or unknowingly. It don't matter. Everybody locked up is a bond servant. That means that there's a bond that you forced to be in service to, that's tied to you through the government. Right? Now I can speak up for the ones in there where they use fraudulent means to ensnare them in their traps. Right? Because if you don't know how they trapped them, you won't know how to tell the people they got trapped. So they won't be able to see that they was never supposed to be there, and that alone should be sufficient to free them. Like, they didn't say Larry told the guy, hey, go shoot this dude. That's not what he was in there for. Larry was in there because they said the dude believed that Larry needed this done, so he just took it on himself to go do it. That's what Larry went to prison for. It's called influence. That law in Illinois has since been taken off the books. Right? So the law that Larry is in the state case on is no longer a law in Illinois. Fruit of the poison tree apply. When you repeal the law, you release the man.
Right. That's a fact. Right? They did that with the weed.
Unless you fall under Dred Scott.
Dang.
An outlaw tribe. You got to think about that.
That's right, Rod.
You got, in order for them to continuously hold you, they are acknowledging the fact that you are a tribal leader with no treaty. Yeah. And they're going to force you into a treaty agreement in order to liberate you from your bondage. And that's why Larry been in there that long, because he won't do contract business with the government. And they know this.
Yeah, he said it
perfectly. The same with Angel Bay, Jeff Ford. He wouldn't do business with the government. That whole case against him, the terrorism case, is the same case they used to murder Prince Lowe. It's the same case, the same actors. Trying to trap another prince up after they took down the king. He not gonna fall for that. And when he didn't fall for it, they murdered Prince Lowe on the west side. Chicago know what I'm talking about. They lied on Jeff. They brought in some people who supposed to be code crackers, and they figured out the language of the peace zones, and they said that Jeff was giving them orders in coded messages, right? But the messages don't match what they telling you they saying.
Yeah, they saying that he said go get a bazooka, or all this crazy stuff.
Jeff never said that.
Yeah.
Right. They got documentaries on that stuff showing you how they set it up. Jeff was already locked up when that happened.
Yeah, CIA.
He was doing a meatball, but they used that because they couldn't afford to let him hit the streets again. He had learned too much and he had become too influential in the city of Chicago. He would have been able to start organizing the tribes. Between him, King David, Larry Hoover, and Big Bull, and a few others, they would have been able to organize the whole city of Chicago in an instant to put down any resistance from the government aside from air bombing.
Damn.
You gotta remember, it was a dude that looked like us that ordered the bombing on Philadelphia move on the family of John Africa. Because they was going back to the tribal way of living. Because John Africa understood that you have to be one with the land in order for you to stay healthy and have longevity. And they trying to cut us off from the land and force us into labor camps. Right? They didn't have to blow them people up. But we don't remember the first part though. Before they blew them up, they shot them up. We forgot about that part though. They were sending bullets in there with women and children hiding for their life before they dropped the bombs.
Damn, boy.
We not paying attention. They never stopped warring against us. Right? We trying to follow what they call in Islam Sirata Mustaqim, the straight and narrow way. The only way that you can get out of this without going to a raw, bloody warfare is by strategy alone. You have to out-strategize the enemy. Expose his fraud to the people. While you showing the people who's behind the fraud, what they doing with the receipts. Right? That's why these oral traditions are so important. Because under the oral tradition, we can use their written word to prove the corruption of their ways. We can show you they split tongue when they talking with two agendas by they doing two different things in actuality. They signed treaties saying one thing, but their actions did another. That means they came in with two agendas. They lying. They spreading falsehood. Now, the ones who are unaware are the orphans who's growing up after they did murder their parents and their grandparents with no information or no knowledge of self. Anybody that can...
George Washington hats. I mean, the Fizzies and the George Washington Memorial and being Bay being a traitor, really, to me.
They are the ones who came from Europe and wanted to lay claim to this land. The tripartite system that he laid down is based on the 3 degrees of masonry. So you have judicial, legislative, and executive. Executive is police, legislative is lawmakers, and judicial is the ones who mediate between the activities of the two. Right? So it's based on entered apprentice, fellow craft, master mason.
Right.
That's Blue House. The principles of the Blue House is being laid down, but it's coming out of the 32 degree Scottish Rite Red House from Europe. Free white persons in law, Scottish bankers, having established the Scottish Bank off the Scottish Rite Freemasons. These are the ones who not only are they establishing the 3-party system or the 3-part system, they're also in the process of instituting a centralized banking cartel. They're going to use this banking cartel to deplete us of our wealth using debt and inflation. Debt is told to you as interest rate or taxation. And The inflation is taking it by changing the value of the currency as you lower the value of the goods. I mean, you lower the value of the currency, it increases the value of the goods. So that's cutting it off the top and the bottom. Pretty soon they're gonna cut you all the way out.
Damn. Mafia.
Right. So the 3-part system had to be established in order to commercialize everything under the salvage right being applied through Uniform Commercial Code. What we know as the black codes is derivatives of the commercial code, right? Because it's to tell them how to handle the ones discovered dead walking around lost at sea. Right? C is a musical note. Right? So when you lost at sea, the only thing you can do is try to rise to E. Right? So it's a Mississippian blues connotation. To rise from C, class, to E is educated. Right? So when everything means something, but it don't mean anything until you say it means something. By establishing firm definitions, you establish the criteria by which everybody will follow the system according to the understanding of the language that's been defined for them. When they realize that they speak more than one language simultaneously, and then they start realizing they multilingual, because we don't just speak in words, we speak in body language, we speak in facial expression, right? We speak by altering our positions, what they call gestures. And these messages carry through in the form of the hieroglyphics. So we can tell each other the story and wake everybody up from the slumber. Right? So the George Washington, Crispus Attucks connection is the same as the Benjamin Banneker and Lewis and Clark. Right? Remember, they surveyors. Lewis and Clark is surveyors. Benjamin Banneker is what they call it, a jurist, an astrologer, astronomer, and he's a navigator. Big Ben Bay escorted Lewis and Clark on their expedition because they were supposed to serve as Peter and Paul. But all the time, the one who was doing the stealing was the one that was hiding behind Peter and Paul. Because he was a Jew.
They end up killing that dude later, 3 years after that. 1803, Louisiana Purchase. 3 years later, they give a story that some Knights of Templar raided Benjamin Banneker's house, stole paperwork, and he went on the walk, came back, he died. I don't believe... It seemed like to me he could have faked his death or something, Rod. What you think on that, Rod? Because the storyline...
His story is the same as Nikola Tesla's. His story is the same as several other prominent figures back then who was at odds. Jacques de Molay, the leader of the Templars, died the same way. They try to force them to give them the sacred Masonic word. Right? But the word is in wide open. It's in plain sight.
Right.
And they thinking that the secret is concealed secretly. The secret is in the open.
Right.
Because everything has to be in the public domain if you're going to play in this game of the gods we playing in. When the masters come through, it's cleanup time. Right? And now comes Judge Dredd, the final judge, right? They call me in to find out what the problem is and why it's still operating. I'm the chief of last resort. I'm the one you ain't supposed to want to see. And that's why I get so much hate. Because they know I'm either going to fix the problem or blow it all up. Ain't no two in betweens. Either going to fix it or destroy it. This is fixable. Because everything around us now is predicated up on the maintenance of ignorance, collective ignorance. And so we have to move into a public educational format, right? We have to make the universe the new university. Our geology has to be walking the earth, right? Exercising our geography. So we use what we can in our environment in order to read the continuum. The continuum is the repeat patterns and cycles. Every time you observe a repeat pattern, you can see the exit shortly thereafter. But if you don't never pick up on the patterns, you can't never get out of the game. That's what Michael Jackson was telling us in The Wiz. You can't win. You can't get out of the game. You can't win because you have to play it to the end. In the end is when the marathon got to come to an end. It got to be a finish line somewhere, right? If it's a finish line, one of us gonna figure it out. So the Feds Memorial is all of the Moors that was contracted under the Scottish Rite Freemason, 32 degree Scottish Rite Freemasons, to come from Europe and apply an interim jurisdictional government while we, the 50 chiefs, that's the 50 neckers. Or as Tupac would say, 50 niggas. Never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. Right? These 50 are on the mural as Inca chiefs with King Charles V. So you have to be able to identify both sides of the war. The white pieces on the chessboard and the black pieces. Because if you're going to play the pieces, you got to know where your dog at in the fight. And all you got to do is be able to establish a heart link connection, and you can tell if you got a dog in that fight in order to do your work. I just got a dog in a whole lot of fights. I'm a dog man. Dogs flip guys, and guys flip with dogs. Mirror flipping. It's a code. Zigzag zig. Postgraduate renewal of the lessons. End game is a resurrection. That's common sense. Right? Don't worry about the boys in the hood. They still bad boys. Even if they is on death row. Because if they in Minnesota, they just rude boys. Right? And the rude boy in Jamaica is a shotter. A shotter is a shooter. But the shooter don't shoot unless he can see the target. That's where the code of the sniper apply. To minimize collateral damage, the sniper is taught one shot, one kill. No wasted ammo. Just like there's no wasted food, beans and bullets. That's how you feed the poor. Protect the people and feed the people. There's nowhere on this earth where we're supposed to need food, clothing, and shelter. Right. Nobody's supposed to be out in the streets sleeping when we got a blizzard coming in, unless they choose to be out there by their own free will of a competent and sound man.
Right.
Right. In that case, they coming out there, they playing survival war games with themselves to see if they can survive the condition. We understand that. That's a rites of passage in the manhood. know the blizzard coming, and he got to go out there and have a shelter established, protection set up, and a way to feed himself, and all this got to be done before the blizzard dump on him. See, rites of passage. So we understand that sometimes they got to go out into the wilderness. But when he come back, he gonna be more of a man than he was before because he just activated a new level of superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's why the wise young men isolate themselves from the public. Because the seed don't grow in the light, it grow in the dark, but it sprout in the light.
Oh, that's fire right there. That's a quote. That's like a you can write that down. That's a biblical quote right there. Yeah, boy. That's one of them keys to Solomon. He gave a keys to Solomon. She about to, like, right now, as Nubians, as the original people of this in America, we, like he said, we make more money than the French if we put our money together. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad brought this across in the message to the black man too. So
It's
I'm
expired.
saying go ahead.
But it's expired. Because that's when we was laboring for money. We gotta remember, we had a right, a jurisdictional right to the soil of the earth, to the minerals of the earth that come from the land that our big mamas come from.
Mm-hmm.
All that is being returned. Back then, the reason he was pushing the group economics the same as Claude Anderson is because it was a monopoly game being played. In the monopoly game, we started with no credits. Everybody else started with credits, properties, and money, and we started with nothing.
Damn.
Right? Because they system we wasn't part of, we wasn't supposed to get anything. It had nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
As outlaw tribes.
Yeah.
Right? So the only people involved was the people at the table what became black millionaires and billionaires that you don't even know was over here. Because they took their money and they moved to their gated communities because they was the ones that was orchestrating the Plato's Republic as a constitutional institution in order to usurp it with sorcery. You heard what Baba said. They used sorcery.
Yeah.
The only way to break the spell of a spell is to expose it, what it is and how it works to the people that's being influenced by the energy of the spell. Right? Now, as you do a blood ritual, your blood on paper only lasts for a period of time and the blood fades away.
He said 200 years. There
on average.
Uh-huh.
That's the story that John Dee was able to interpret from the writings of Jacques de Molay. John Dee is a pseudonym. That's not his real name, whoever he was. But whoever he was used the name John Dee because the sorcery that he got came from the writings of the assassination of Jacques de Molay, the Templar. Right? So he take his writings, he tell Queen Elizabeth about the blood oath. It's a Babylonian ritual blood rite in order to compel the people to follow you by using the blood of their leader. And this is what they was doing. Certain leaders, according to the rules of the game, they not allowed to kill them, but they could usurp them and block them from the throne. What do usurp mean? Jacobin. They can jack you for your
Yakub.
Right. Now, Yakub is shortened is Jack.
Yeah.
Right? Jack is also short for Joaquin. Joaquin is the opposite pillar from Boaz. right? So you learn severity and mercy becomes the teaching tools for the masses. You move toward the pleasure and away from the pain. So you inflict the pain while you showing them which direction is the light. Because now they trying to get away from the pain, and now they gonna start focusing on the light ahead. Stop falling for the narratives of the satire. Putin just offered $1 billion to Trump for a joint venture project in association with the Greenland deal. Let that sink in. They got you thinking that they are enemy. They working hand in hand as part of the Earth Alliance to clean this shit up everywhere.
That's right.
Right? Now, the whole Iran thing, they not gonna bomb Iran. United States not finna bomb Iran. Why? Because the people in Iran had enough of the bullshit. Because they tired of being shit on by a bunch of stubborn ass old bulls.
Makes sense.
An antiquated, false religious dogma. So they rebel. Soon as they declare war on America, the people in Iran immediately hit the streets. Oh no, y'all done went too damn far. We not finna feed y'all Islamic World War III morals and dogma agenda. We not finna participate. And you ain't finna drag us in it. If you want to fight him, you go over there and put on some boxing gloves and fight Trump yourself. We don't know whether he's still living or not, the Ayatollah rock and roller over there. But they saving Benny Baby for last. Right? Because the Israel West Bank war is a proxy war. It's not never intended to be won or lost. That's not Israel. When the Ukraine fall, Israel crumbles. Because those are Khazars. The war in Ukraine is the Khazarian override that's being exposed, but they keep trying to use the West Bank Israeli war as a diversionary tactic. Like we don't know that those people that's calling themselves Zionists, Khazarians, came from the Ukraine. He said that's their homeland. It's even recorded and documented when their king converted. Their king converted to Judaism because he didn't want to be a Christian or a Muslim. We don't want to talk about that. These people, along with the ones that's called Sephardi. The Sephardi is known as the Spanish Jew, but the pale Spanish Jew. The real Spanish Jew is a Morisco or Morenos. He's the one in secret relation between blacks and Jews doing all the slave trade. In association with his Arab brethren like Tipper Tid. But we ain't supposed to even acknowledge any of that as part of the historical context of what we dealing with over here. And that's why they teach it as a different branch of history. Because if most people are going to study American history, they're going to become patriotic, they're going to believe in the American way, and ain't nobody along the way going to say, wait a minute, but what happened to the people that was already here?
Right.
They said they killed them off, but everywhere I look, I still see us walking around doing what we've been doing for thousands of years. We land dancing and stepping in the Midwest. We southern land dancing all through the South. We jigging, gigging, all this funky footwork that's natural to us that the other people got to learn the 1-2-step method to learn their culture. When we just got to see it and it infect us like a virus because it's already in us. It's getting activated by our brothers doing this particular dance. When Detroit, we jig,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is how breakdancing was birthed in the boroughs as an alternative means for us killing each other. Let's dance out, which reached all the way to the Bay and gave us hyphy clowns dancing around, humping around, and jumping around like Digital Underground. Right? They telling you the story. We still doing the same thing we always did. We can still see us doing it, and you can tell the imposter because they hate it every time they can't stop us from doing what we already gonna do. You can't stop us from being us. We who we are.
Right.
We know how we move. We know how to teach each other and talk to each other in the manner that get the message across of where the real enemy at and how we fighting him, where he came from. Roll the coin, Elder. What you got next?
Hey, we're gonna take we could take some questions, Roy. We got about 24 minutes. Hey y'all, we got about 2,000 people on. Hey, everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. For the people that was asking about hey, don't do no super chat, just send it to Roy, man, because they take somebody sent me a $300 super chat. They only gave me $125 out of that. $300 super chat. I was like, man, that's a robbery. Like, where that money going? Then they don't even show you where it's going. So yeah, but I just dropped it in. Somebody got a question right here.
No, sweetie, it's not just about dancing. The dancing is a side effect of the activity of the soul. The soul expresses itself in the artistic expression in the dances. And because they've made fun of us in all of their Western movies as having these powwow dances, but the stuff that we've always done, we still doing it. We doing it all over the land. We never stop being ourselves we at home. They trying to convince us to not express our inner soul because we can recognize each other. We know how we move. If a foreigner come through here, I don't care where he from. Haitians is not foreigners to North America. Jamaicans are not foreigners. Cubans and Dominicans are not foreigners. When we talk about the original people of these lands, we are one people, but we got many branches to the family. Right? And if you look at how the conquest, you have to study Venezuela, study Brazil, look at how the amalgamation went, and you understand the one drop doctrine was there for a reason, because it was the remedy that they came seeking in order to heal the genetic defects of the grafted devils, so to speak. Because they was in the laboratory messing around with stuff they shouldn't have been messing with, and we became the ones responsible to clean it up because they was too stupid to figure it out. Stop using sulfur when you're trying to conceal your creations. That was the first problem. Mm-hmm. Right? And the deliberate shutting down of parts of the genome and the institution of new programs in the genome that controls people. Nobody can't live their best life because they all arrested development, retarded to sixth grade education level or 6-year-old education level. When you enter in the first grade, that's the first step of your intellectual
Hey, Roy, I forgot that you had these right here. It's just a couple slides. I want, like, you just can say what you're gonna say about them right here. Like, we got to go over this part of this whole evidence thing that we got going. Because I'm gonna cut and make stuff from this. So this is a flyer you sent me about the guilt. Like, the people coming. It's a whole bunch of people coming out the U.S. now, and it's all in the tabloid. Just ain't talking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the guilty This one right here too.
Yeah. Okay, so you gotta remember, the police does not belong here. They are a foreign occupying military force. They don't belong here. They only here because they are the executive branch of the interim government. Now, if you want an example of how it worked, you have to go back to the Iraq War. That's the most recent example where you can see its totality, right? The police is equivalent to the U.S. peacekeeping forces in Iraq. And the interim president of Iraq is equivalent to the commander in chief of the armed forces that was established here as the United States. The problem is that once the commander in chief finds a competent chief of the land that can clearly show you the fraud, he's obligated by the codes of military justice to restore the rightful owners to their proper position as part of the Republic Restored program. It's called the Restored Republic because it's under what's called the redemption right. The redemption right is explained in the Uniform Commercial Code, and how do you reclaim what was yours when somebody's squatting on your property, basically. You have to identify who you are, where you from, and then you have to see if there's a trail that can verify that all of this stuff is fraud. They already confessed to the fraud.